with my models. So I hope you've enjoyed the show. Thank you for having me. And,
welcome on stage Faizal, Luttamaguzi from TikTok.
Wow, good afternoon. I can confirm I'm one of those people who cuts my own hair, as you can tell. But how amazing was that? I'm blown away. I am delighted to be here, and I think it goes without saying that of all the platforms, of all the apps that Aveda could have invited, they invited us at TikTok. So we are delighted to be here with you guys, and well, I guess the obvious question is, why are we here? Because as you can tell, I'm not a hair expert by any means. That's for you guys. But so who am I? Well, let me start with some introduction. So, as she politely said, my name is Faizal Luttamaguzi, and I work as a brand partnership manager at TikTok. At TikTok, this means I am the expert on beauty and hair, believe it or not. But with expert, I mean that I am the person who keeps an eye on trends, on data, on curves. So we at TikTok know what's coming before it's coming. So this is why I'm here today, because when it comes to the beauty and hair segment, we're seeing some magnificent data and some magnificent stuff. So we thought that we would share some of that with you today. But I guess the obvious question is, why should you guys care, right? Why should you care about TikTok? And actually, before we go into that, I wanted to ask you your thoughts on TikTok, but maybe I should ask how many of you have TikTok? See a few here, nice. How many of you don't have any idea what TikTok is? Yay! Okay, so I'm talking to you today, sir. But this is great. Okay, so at least you know what TikTok is. Any fans? Do you guys like TikTok? Yeah, okay. People are not that impressed with it? Love it. Okay, great. So this is good. At least a few people understand it. So let me then explain what TikTok is. And when I say what TikTok is, I think I want to explain from our perspective. Because I think as a user, you might have an opinion about it, but it's also very interesting to hear from the people behind the app. So at TikTok, we like to define ourselves as a social entertainment platform. And why are these words highlighted? Because it makes a difference. Because when you talk to people, usually the conversation goes, yeah, here we go, another social media app. I already have Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, you name it. Do I need to understand yet another social media app? I don't have time for that. Logical. But this is where we say, pop, 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 pop. TikTok is not a social media app. It's a social entertainment app. So what is the obvious difference, you ask? Well, think about this way. When you download a social media app and you open an account, the way that it usually goes is that you start following people you know, right? Your friends, your families, people you went to school with. And then you move outwardly in a social circle. You want to keep track of what your friends are doing, right? Which versus an entertainment platform such as YouTube. YouTube is an entertainment platform. When you go to YouTube, you never look for people you know. You actually don't care if your friends are on YouTube or not. You go there because you're looking for specific content. And that's an entertainment app. And we see the exactly same behavior on TikTok. Is that people go to TikTok, you don't look up people you know. You actually don't care. You go to find relevant content for what you're looking for. So this distinction is important. And the reason it's important because it will dictate how you guys, the hairdressers, can actually explode your career on the platform. So I'll go into that a little bit more. Let me give you an example. Some time ago, we had a creator, and we did not pay him, just to say this. He said, okay, I want to see the difference between my social media platform and TikTok. So he said, I'm going to upload the exact same video at the exact same time on both platforms. Which you did, and let's play the video. It is delicious by all accounts, as you can see. And what's interesting to note here is that if you look at his social media platform, he had around 100,000 more followers on there. But yet, the same video that he uploaded to TikTok, as you can see, got 10 times more views and about 10 times more comments. So then the obvious question, how is this possible? Yet if you have 100,000 fewer followers, how can you get more views? This is the magic of what TikTok is. And we like to say there's a few reasons to that. And we try to list them here. Number one is that it's a sound-on platform. You cannot enjoy TikTok without the sound on. And as you can see, this video was delicious, but it's looks so much more different when you have the sound on. And that's what we call full immersion, right? It makes a difference just to hear what that picture sounds like. And the second reason we say this makes a difference is that TikTok is a full screen platform. And again, as you can see the difference there, the content on your TikTok app takes up 100% of the screen. And this makes a difference because we've seen in our data is that when someone's on TikTok, they rarely can do something else. They don't watch TV in the background. You can have it on, but you can't focus because you're watching TikTok. It's a full screen, it's a sound off. And it's very good at personalizing the content for you. So this is why someone can upload the exact same video and get these different results. And this is why you guys should care, because you can do the same work as you're already doing now, yet you can reach many more people. And speaking of that, I wanted to share some stats with you, just to give you an idea of the scopes that we're talking about here. So the first stat I wanted to share with you is this. Does anyone care to guess what this number stands for? Users. I like you. Well done. You're correct. This is the number of users that are on TikTok every single month. We're not talking total numbers, not all time. This is every single month. There are 1.1 billion people who logged into TikTok to be on there. And when we say number of users, this is global, but this is excluding China, which a lot of people are talking about. TikTok is a Chinese app. It actually doesn't exist in China. There's a different app there. So this 1.1 billion is a global number excluding the biggest market on the world. And, you know, looking at this number, yeah, it's, I guess, impressive by looking at it, but I realized you actually don't understand how impressive it is until you put it into context. Like, how big is a billion, really? Like, for those of you who are creators, right? If someone told you you're gonna upload a video and you're gonna get 50,000 views, you will be delighted. 50,000 views is a lot. So imagine going from 50,000 to a million. Then imagine going from a million to a billion. This is how big of a step it is. And again, if we put it into historical context, the first video on YouTube to ever reach 1 billion views. For those of us who are old enough, remember this classic, Mr. Gangnam Style. What a lot of people don't know is that he was on YouTube for 14 years before he actually reached 1 billion views. The first video on TikTok to reach 1 billion views was on the platform for 2 years. So again, just to give an idea of how much faster things are moving right now. And again, I'm not trying to say it's because of TikTok things are moving fast, but I think we just live in a world now where things are moving so much faster. So then you ask yourself, okay, there are actually videos on TikTok who reach 1 billion views. So what does a video on TikTok that gets 1 billion views look like? I wanted to share with you guys, just to get an understanding of what works on TikTok.
Dude, head somewhere else.
So this is what drives 1 billion views. And it's ridiculous in so many aspects. First and foremost, this is shot on a smartphone, right? This is not a high-value production. That's the first thing that's worth knowing about TikTok, is that you usually shoot all your video on your smartphone. Second thing is it's shot in someone's bathroom. Like, right, you don't have to have a big set or a big budget in order to reach people or to move them in any kind of way. And this is what TikTok has become, a place where you can move people by just being authentic or yourself. In this instance, this person is really good at editing, obviously, as we saw. And what's even more scary is that this is not the only video he has that has reached 1 billion views. As we're counting right now, he has another video that has reached 2.2 billion views. And again, the reason I want to show this is not to scare you guys, rather to think it's the first time ever we live in a time now when you can think in these numbers and they're not ridiculous. Like, you could be a single person and say, I'm going to upload a video and I want it to reach 1 billion views. And that's not a ridiculous thing. And again, this is what TikTok has become, a place where you can now explode whatever boundaries we used to have. The second stat I wanted to share with you is this. Anyone care to guess again? Your 2 for 2. What do you think this stands for?
Like?
Close enough, but no. 150 million. This is the number of users in Europe. In Europe alone. And again, the reason I wanted to share this is obviously up here in the Nordics, we're proud of a lot of things that we do, right? We're at the forefront technologically, we're internet savvy, all that. But again, I want you to start challenging our borders. Because what we see is that some of the biggest, we call them creators on TikTok, that are Nordic, actually are very big also internationally. This is one of the biggest trends that I saw when I first started working on TikTok 2 years ago, is that if a creator became big in the Nordics, automatically it became big in Europe. And we don't see this in any other market, not at the same rate anyways. So what I'm saying is that you might be a hairdresser with a physical space here, but on platforms like TikTok, you have all of a sudden a global market. And then finally, the last stat I wanted to share with you is this one. And for those of you who've been following the debate about TikTok and the conversation, usually it goes like this. I don't want to be on TikTok because it's a platform for young kids. My kids are on there, my grandchildren, yada, yada, yada. And we understand this conversation because it usually goes like that. It's the young people who find an app and they make it big. This stat is telling a different story. Of all those 1.1 billion users on the platform, 67% are 25 years and older. So you might have a perception of who's on the platform, but the data tells a different language. So you might be missing out on potential customers because you're thinking, my age group is not on there. Well, that's not the case. And I also wanted to share some of the milestones that TikTok has achieved over the last 2 years. And speaking about how much faster it's going now, so for the first time ever in Google's history, another website than Google was the most visited website, and that was TikTok. And let's just think about that. TikTok is an app. Google today is a verb. We Google stuff, right? That's a verb, you action. So how can an app overtake Google as the most visited website? Well, this is where stuff fascinates me. So what happens is that when you're on TikTok, you watch a video, it makes you laugh or feel something, and you forward it to somebody outside of TikTok. What happens is that you send them to the TikTok website. So what this data is telling me is that more people forwarded TikTok videos to their friends than what we Googled during 2021. Again, that shows you what TikTok has become in our everyday lives. And another stat that was interesting is that it also overtook YouTube as a platform where people spend the most time. The average user today in Norway spends about 90 minutes per day on TikTok. That's a Netflix movie every single day, just watching TikTok content. So again, if you're looking for your target audience, best believe they are on here and they're spending time. And then also I think what's important to notice is because we're not blind to the debate that's happening about TikTok. Is it dangerous? Is it collecting data? All those discussions, we've seen that in the media, both in the US and in Norway, talk about how worried should we be. So obviously we're listening to these conversations and we try to educate people. And one some of those steps is, like one of the things that we're very proud of is that we, in this year, will have a data center in Norway. And by a data center, it means that all the Norwegian data is stored in Norway. So that you don't have to worry about where does my data get stored. So these are some of the highlights that have happened and are happening this year. And another one that you should care about. So for those of you who have TikTok, you probably recognize this. This is what the user interface looks like, and it has been, and it's very similar to Instagram, so you feel familiar. But one of the biggest changes that we did this year was to introduce search. Because before this, what TikTok was is you went in there, and then you watched the video, you reacted some kind of way, you swipe to the next one, and TikTok algorithm did its job of showing you another video. And eventually you're like, wow, this algorithm is good. You're showing me content I actually want to see. So we used to say it's a reactive platform, right? You react, and then it feeds the data. Since we introduced search, all of a sudden what has happened is TikTok has now become a proactive platform. What people are doing now is that they go to TikTok and they use it as a search engine. Like we've seen data now where a person can plan an entire vacation without ever leaving TikTok. It's fascinating. They go in there and they say, places to stay in Milan, best restaurants in Paris. And then they will get up TikTok content and they will use this as recommendation and plan their whole vacation. So this is the next step for us. People are asking now, wow, are you gonna compete with Google? Why not? and if people are using the platform as a search engine. But even more importantly, what it does is that it's giving us much more data. Before, people used to react to a video, and we used to get a few data points. Now, we can literally see what they're searching. And this is, I guess, the reason why I'm here today. That based on their search behavior, there are a few verticals that are bubbling or growing like crazy. Food, probably have seen that. Beauty, and now hair. Based on all the perimeters, hair care and hairstyle is one of the fastest growing verticals on TikTok. And this is why you guys should care. So, only have like 15 more minutes, so I'll try to make it as simple as possible. So based on the data that we're seeing now, we say that we can divide up the hair category on TikTok in 4 divisions. And these are these. This is based on the search behavior. When people come to TikTok and search for hair-related stuff, what is it that they want to find? These are the categories. It's usually people who are looking for various kind of hair care. Right? How do I take care of my hair? Hair coloring is massive now. Also, we're seeing hairstyles, and then I think the coup de grace, hair professionals. So I thought I'll give you just a snippet into all of them. And what's fascinating is we're seeing that the behavior over the past 2 years has told us that when it comes to hair, it's become a very democratized space on the platform. We see that there is room for every type of hair, every type of style, every type of interest. There is such a width of content and search behavior on the platform. So whatever niche you are into, highly likely that you will find it on TikTok. And we see that in some of the popular hashtags that are searched for. Again, if you look at the various categories, everything from products, what type of products that people search for on the platform, like we have real-time data to this access, and we can share with you. You can say, okay, I have a huge launch in July. What are people searching for in July in Norway around here? We can find that instantly. And what's even more beautiful, we obviously have high interest in sharing this data, just like now with you guys. Because we realize the more you see the value in TikTok, obviously the more inclined you are to working on the platform. So we're more than happy to share some of this hashtags data. And you see some of the numbers around these hashtags. How, again, ridiculously big they are. So even though we talk about these billions of people, if we break it down even to hair, we see that there's so many searches that are being done on such an intense space that it is amazing. And if we break that down even to the Nordics, we see some of the bubbling hashtags, if you will. And what is interesting here is that as of now, again, for the last 2 years, I've worked with beauty and hair on TikTok. And for the last 2 years, all the top, I would say 50 hashtags are more or less in English. And again, isn't that fascinating to see that we are obviously much more comfortable searching for that because, again, we think in a global perspective. So some of the interesting curves I would like to see is what are the hashtags in local languages that soon will be taking over the top 20 or top 30 spots. So these are some of the things that we work with Aveda to exactly understand and analyze some of this data. And okay, so this is what people search for. What about what do they upload? All these 1.1 billion people, they're not just they're searching. A lot of people also creating videos, creating content, and uploading it. So we look at that. What is it that they're sharing with them? So again, some of the 4 popular categories, I would say, in that people like to share TikTok content when it comes to hair. Favorite products, that's a given one. We see that in all the platforms. Whether it's YouTube and unboxing or doing product reviews, we're seeing the same behavior on TikTok. People love, without being paid, without having any collaborations with the brands, on their own video, they love to share which their favorite products or brands are. And again, fascinating to us, because today when we live in a world of influencers who can get paid for reviewing, people still, on their own free will, love to just upload and say, this is one of my favorite products and this is why. And again, I think this is like a gold mine for both brands and hairstylists to understand what is it that people prefer and why. So, obviously, another one that we see is hair goals, right? Documenting what you would like to look like and then the journey to get there. This is also very interesting to see how people are very keen on sharing their hair goals. And again, this is, I think, where you guys can step in and see, ooh, okay, if this is the journey they want to take, where do I, as a hairdresser, can help them in that journey? The second category that we're seeing that is really, really taking off is hair coloring. And I want to share this slide with you because it is very interesting to see what has happened over the last 3 or 4 years, especially since the pandemic. Is that what we saw is that when people could not go out and visit you guys, like our theory was that there would be less people coloring their hair. But what happened instead is that people got much more comfortable coloring their hair at home. Right? The do-it-yourself trend became very, very big. But also what's positive is that people now are much more comfortable to color their hair. So again, for you guys, this is understanding is that where do you fit in this journey? And who are they influenced by? Right? The classic ones, musicians, artists, famous people, yes, we see that there. But then also we see like cyclical trends, like the zodiac trend. Can come trends on TikTok that has to do with coloring your hair in one way, and then we see an explosion on the platform as well. But even more, I think, deeper and a little bit more down to like the cause and why. This is one of my favorite trends or growth that I see, is that all of a sudden things that used to be, I don't know, call it a challenge. Like if you had premature grays, this is something that you want to get rid of. And now we're seeing how people are embracing like the gray hair, whether you're old enough or young enough, or you name it, or now where people actually go out of their way to dye their hair gray. So these are some of the trends that I would love to see and deep dive in and see what the data is telling us. And then from another aspect is that I usually like to say the positive with Nordics is that it is such a small market still in terms of numbers, because what happens is that we can have a cheat code. We can look at what's happening in mainland Europe or in the US, because most likely we see that if a trend happens somewhere else, it will come to the Nordics. So you can be ahead of the curve. And here are some of the trends that we saw last year that were very big in some of the markets in Europe. And we said, okay, see, I don't know if you guys see it in your saloons, but these are the ones that we saw. They started big in mainland Europe, and they started moving into the Nordics. So the peekaboo hair is one very interesting, and the copper hair are some of the trends that are very, very big in all the other European markets that we saw moving into Nordics a few months after they were big there. And then the third category I wanted to share with you guys is about hairstyling. We see a lot of content both being produced and consumed around how should I style my hair. Case in point, the presentation we just saw now. Like, what are the trends? It is the 80s, it is the 70s. That's why it's very interesting to see what he had to say, what he sees from it, and then what we see on the platform. And yeah, he's very right. Like the things that are really influencing people are trends that are old school but are coming back. Like the cottage core. I don't know if you guys have seen this trend. I don't know how to explain it, but imagine, you're lily-dallying in the meadows and you're picnicking under a tree, that whole vibe. And we're also seeing that now when it comes to hair trends. And the e-boy and the e-girl trend is obviously very big still. And there's specifically one debate that was raging on TikTok last year that fascinates me beyond belief. Like for several months, we saw a proper debate and discussion about this topic. Like the Gen Z, as we were talking about, they said, okay, how should one party their hair? Is it a side part or a middle part? And there was this whole debate, and it's generational. You guys are too old, you understand. It should be in the middle, it should be to the side. And okay, me, I don't understand that discussion. But it is interesting to see that it can lead from the platform and into traditional media. Like we saw this in the press. People were discussing about this TikTok debate about how you should part your hair. Again, these are some of the fascinating stuff that we see on the platform that I know you guys could probably utilize to no avail. And again, when we look at some of that popular hashtags, or again, hairstyles, again, it gives you an indication of what people want or what they're looking for. And then we do have what we call the super users, people who really have taken this hairstyles into an art form. And this is where you usually see the magic happen. Because one of the discussions I usually have when I go out and talk to people is that, okay, you've shown us all these big numbers that might be overwhelming. You've shown us how fast it goes. So if I'm new to TikTok, how can I ever keep up? How can I ever stand out within this gazillion of videos? And it goes so fast. And this is where it gets interesting, is because there are some trends we see that keep coming back, or you can usually tie them to what's happening in the world. I'll give you an example. So when it comes to beauty, last year, one of the biggest talk about movies that was coming up was the Avatar movie. Everyone's talking about the new Avatar movie, it's going to cost $1 gazillion. And what was fascinating is that on the platform, as we were nearing the premiere of Avatar, we saw how certain trends started picking up. Like we saw in makeup, all of a sudden people are like buying out blue makeup, like 2 months before the movie comes out. So we're like, well, hello, that's a given. You talk to all the beauty brands and say, you guys should do campaigns about blue makeup. Because once the movie has premiered, it will explode. Same thing where there's a Netflix show that goes viral and a person has a specific hairstyle, right? Best believe you will see that trend popping on TikTok. So one of the quick fixes I usually like to say to people is that look at the schedule, what it looks like. And you can actually plan ahead of these trends. Like Halloween is such a classic. You know Halloween comes every year, and you know people go out of their way on the platform to do something around Halloween. So those are just some of the trends we see and how we can actually utilize it. And then finally, before I finish off, I wanted obviously to touch on this category, the hair professionals. What TikTok has become over the last 2 years is, first when it came, people said, oh, it's a lip syncing app. I don't know if you guys remember that. It was like young girls and girls who came and lip synced to music and just did the silly dances. That's why people were like, ugh, I don't want to be on there. And then quickly, all of a sudden, food became the big thing. Like all of you probably had a conversation with someone who said, I saw this recipe on TikTok. And then after food, music took over. All of a sudden, there's no artist today who don't go viral on Spotify before they release it on TikTok. And what we're seeing now is the next frontier of professionals who are finding their audience on TikTok. Dermatologists. That's the key. You've seen that, right? Before, people were like, ooh, I'm too professional. I can't be on TikTok. Now, every time you scroll, you see dermatologists talking about, hey, summer is here. This is what you should use. SPF 50, pimples, you name it. And they're now becoming huge as celebrities on the platform because they're educating people. And that's the key word, they're educating. So dermatologists have really found their space, and our data is telling us the next professionals to find their space in TikTok are hairdressers or hair professionals. Because what is happening is that we're seeing a few of them in some major countries who have really been fast on the curve and utilize this. And now build a huge following on the platform by being educational. There is a term on TikTok, we call it edutainment. This is the sweet spot. If you can educate somebody and also entertain them on TikTok, you've hit the gold mine. And this is what they've become good at. You teach them something and you make them laugh, you make them feel some kind of way. So edutainment on TikTok is really the key. And looking at what people search for, again, as you were saying there, people are using TikTok now as a search engine. Before they get your hair salon, they search for barbers, hair salons around me. And then they would get up content of people who visited that salon and they made content and review on it. So this is why you guys should care about why people are looking for on the platform. And when we talk about hair professionals, what we're seeing is that for those of you who maybe not that comfortable with the platform, or you haven't started yet, you're like, okay, where do I start? Maybe I'm not that good at creating content. Maybe I actually don't have the time to create content because I'm good at cutting hair. So what we're seeing, one quick fix to get into that is you are a professional, right? You have a skill that we don't have. You have a knowledge that we don't have. So one good way is looking at the content here to the right, is commenting on users' video. So you look at someone's content and they cut their hair, they might be happy or disheartened, and you can make a comment on that and say, hey, as a hair professional, these are my 3 recommendations on how you can save that haircut. Or as a hair professional, I would say this product is yada, yada, yada. Doesn't take anything away from you, but it gives them something. And this is a great way to start building a following on TikTok. And why is it important? Because, again, our data shows that people are much more inclined to listen to hair professionals than just a regular user, because they see you as the experts. And especially when it comes to paying money for expensive products. This is when we're seeing that if someone is debating between a cheaper product and a more expensive, they would usually go to TikTok and they would look up content from a hair professional to hear their opinion on it before they make a purchase. So, to summarize, we are hoping that just like the dermatologists and just like the musicians, and just like all the cooking experts out there, that you guys will find your space on TikTok. And if you do, I am here to help you. I'm here to have the discussions. And our approach here in the Nordics is to be approachable and available. And I was speaking to someone, we were in the UK yesterday, and we had this conversation. And the best feedback we at TikTok has ever gotten was a person who said, you know, I've been a creator on Instagram for 10 years. I don't even have an email address to someone at Instagram. I don't know how to get hold of it. But you guys, like you're here, like you have a phone number and an email and a face. So this is our strategy here, is that we want to be approachable. So please come say hello, and if you're interested in TikTok, we're more than happy to talk to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Yes, that was a talk by Faizal. Luttamaguzi is the founder of Tours of Stockholm, London, and New York. He's right here in Oslo, Norway, at Clarion Hotel. He has the talk about. He also works with TikTok, so he's presenting a couple of ideas to hairdressers in Norway about the usage of TikTok and the growth. Have you certainly watched? I want to invite you tomorrow, Sunday, the 29th of April at 17 o'clock. That will be Norwegian time, and it will be 18 o'clock Finnish time. We shall be having a talk hosted by Samantha, and you'll be having Benjamin, a guest from Belgium, where they'll be talking about the necessity or the relevancy of Ugandan diasporas investing back home. It will be an amazing one, I believe, because we've had talks back and forth, discussions about the same, and we just hope that this one will again push us to another step. Moses Mwisha is my name. I'm one of the hosts on Euroforum. I'm here in Norway. We've just had a presentation by Faizal Luttamaguzi. He's a regular guest on Euroforum, so he's a very all-round inclined man, where he has a lot he works with. I want to sign out for now and engage with other duties. Bye-bye for now. Euroforum AG.